to speak at a time. I will call on every member to make sure you have had an opportunity to ask questions. I will now ask City Clerk Renteria to start the roll call, please.
Can everyone hear us on Zoom?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
I can hear you, Jackie.
Perfect. All right, so we have Mayor Guerrero,
Here.
Deputy Mayor Burisma,
I'm here.
Councilor Farmer,
Here.
Councilor Henry,
Here.
Councilor Restucci, Councilor Restucci,
Jackie, Councilor Stucci.
Can you hear me now?
Can't hear a word.
Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, hold on. I'm going to mute everybody. What did I get? Okay. Councilor Hicks,
Here.
Councilor Hart,
Here.
City Manager Casey,
Here.
City Clerk Renteria. I am here. Finance Director Alba,
Here.
Fire Chief Anderson,
Excused.
Police Chief Escalera,
Excused.
Public Works Director Fisher.
I'm here.
Okay. Are we okay with this audio, or do you want me to turn
Councilor
everything?
Farmer needs it a little bit louder if possible.
Okay. I'm going to. Okay, can we do a test again? Can somebody that's on, Mr. Casey, can you run a test for me on sound?
Testing. 1, 2, 3.
Can I get it again?
Testing. Testing. 1, 2, 3.
I just get a feedback. Maybe I'll just turn his speaker on. One moment. I think the best thing to do is just turn everyone off. Let's see. I'm going to turn you up just a little bit.
I won't as it goes.
Okay. Mr. Casey, can I get a count?
Testing. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you. Okay, we're good?
All right, so we got that sound check out of the way. So we're gonna go ahead and move on to our agenda, which first items will be Flag Day proclamation. Okay, whereas the American flag symbolizes the ideals of freedom, justice, and brotherhood, which are deeply rooted in our political and spiritual traditions and which have helped our country to become a land of progress and a rampart of liberty. And whereas on August 3rd, 1949, the Congress of the United States, by joint resolution, designated June 14th of each year as Flag Day and requested the president to issue an annual proclamation calling for its observance and for the display of flag of the United States on all federal government buildings. And whereas on June 9th, 1966, the Congress of the United States, by joint resolution, designated the week in which June 14th falls as National Flag Week and called upon the citizens of the United States to display the flag during that week. And now, therefore, I, Francisco Guerrero, as Mayor of Sunnyside, Washington, do hereby proclaim June 14th, 2021 as Flag Day, and the week of June 14th through the 18th, 2021 as National Flag Week in the city of Sunnyside. In testimony whereof, I have hereon to set my hand and cause the seal of the city of Sunnyside to be affixed, done at the city of Sunnyside this 14th day of June in the year 2021. Okay, and our next proclamation is going to be Pride Month. Whereas we stand together with the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer LGBTQ community of Washington as they declare their pride in who they are and whom they love. And whereas the LGBTQ community has worked tirelessly for respect and equality, their battles have been fought in the courts from marriage equality to demanding equal protections under the law. And whereas while there has been remarkable progress towards acceptance and equality in recent years, members of the LGBTQ community in the United States and around the world still face an unacceptable level of discrimination and violence. Now, therefore, I, Francisco Guerrero, as mayor of Sunnyside, Washington, do hereby proclaim June 2021 as LGBTQ Pride Month, so we may continue to make the case that all human beings share something fundamental in common. All of us want to love and be loved. In testimony whereof, I have hereon to send my hand and cause the seal of the city of Sunnyside to be affixed, done at the city of Sunnyside this 14th day of June in the year 2021. Got two of those, and then up next, looks like we have public comments. Jackie, do you want to take on that and see if we have anybody in the audience or anyone in our Zoom meeting willing to just to have public comment today?
Sure. We don't have anybody scheduled. Does anybody in the community center want to speak? No. Is there anybody on Zoom that would like to make a public comment? Okay. Mayor, it
All
looks
right,
like
I don't think we have any
anybody.
takers today. Thank you, Jackie, for that. Up next, we have our consent agenda, which consists of the minutes of the April 26th, 2021 regular meeting, minutes of the May 3rd, 2021 workshop, approved payroll vouchers numbers 118922 through 118926, and wires transfers as listed for $559,550.84 for the period ending on May 25th, 2021. Claim vouchers numbers 101380 through 101424, and wire transfers as listed for $289,100.14 for the period ending on May 26th, 2021. Approved claim voucher numbers 101425 through 101460, and wire transfers as listed for $79,679.56 for the period ending on June 6th, 2021. Claim vouchers numbers 101462 through 101520, and wire transfers as listed for $103,180.72 for the period ending on June 9th, 2021. Council members, anyone wish to pull an item or have questions, any other consent agenda items? Okay, hearing no questions or comments, what is the desire of council on the consent agenda?
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Mayor, I will second.
Okay, motion by Deputy Mayor Borsma, second by Councilor Hart to approve the consent agenda as presented. Is there any debate on this item? Okay, hearing no debate. Jackie, can you do the roll call, please?
Mayor Guerrero,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Borzma,
Yes.
Councilor Stucci,
Yes.
Councilor Henry,
Yes.
Councilor Hicks,
Yes.
Councilor Farmer,
Yes.
Councilor Hart. Mayor, there's 7 yes votes.
Thank you. Motion passes. Up next, we have our active agenda, which is going to start off with an executive session for 30 minutes. RCW 42.30.110, parenthesis 1, parenthesis I, to discuss with legal counsel representing the agency matters relating to agency enforcement actions, or to discuss the legal counsel representing the agency litigation or potential litigation to which the agency, the governing body, or member acting in an official capacity is or is likely to become a party when public knowledge regarding the discussion is likely to result in an adverse legal or financial consequence to the agency. Mr. Casey, do we expect action after this executive session?
Sorry, apologies, I was muted. No action is expected out of the executive session.
Okay,
And
I will now ask the city clerk
Oh, and-
to place our guests in the virtual waiting room, pause the meeting recordings, secure the session, and anyone present at the community center will ask you to please exit the building until the executive session has ended. The time is now 6:40, and how long will we need, Mr.? Oh, 30 minutes, okay. So we'll do a 30-minute executive session. Sure, okay, we'll start section 642, we'll make it since it's just turned 6:41. Okay, up next, we have on our agenda, Transportation Improvement Program Public Hearing. Receive public comments on the proposed 6-year Transportation Improvement Program. So we'll do the introduction for the public hearing. The public hearing is being held to receive public comment on the City of Sunnyside 6-year Transportation Improvement Program for the year 2021-2026. When I read the appearance of fairness disclosure, the concern is that the hearing be fair in form and substance as well as appearance. Council members, do any of you have conflict of interest concerning this issue? Do any of you stand to gain or lose any financial benefit as a result of the outcome of this hearing? If your answer is yes, please speak now. Council members, can you hear and consider this in a fair and objective manner? If your answer is no, please speak now. Audience members, at this time, we would ask the audience if there are any objections to my participation or any other council members' participation in this proceedings. The public was asked to submit objections or comments by email and none were received. So if there's audience members who feel like our participation in these proceedings may not be appropriate, please let us know. Okay, hearing none, the public hearing is now open at 7:35 p.m. Mr. Casey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. This is an annual activity that we engage in to update, refresh, and extend our transportation improvement plan. It's a 6-year planning horizon, so we're continually taking another year look out further into the future with it. On the call tonight are our Public Works Director, Shane Fisher, as well as Stephanie Ray from HLA, our contracted engineering design firm. And they're happy to answer any questions that may come up, but initially this is simply to invite public comment on any of the projects or activities that are listed in the plan and take that public testimony.
So at this point, we're going to ask citizens to provide testimony. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to provide testimony on this item? Okay, we don't have any takers today on the 6-year transportation improvement plan. Anyone in our Zoom call who would like to give testimony? Okay, hearing none. At this point, I believe the next step, Jack, correct me if I'm wrong, is we'll be closing the public hearing since we don't have any comments. Okay, we'll go down the list, see if anybody has comments or questions on this item. And we'll start with Councilor, let me see, who did we start last? Councilor Henry.
No questions or comments from me, sir.
Thank you. Councilor Hicks.
No questions or comments, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Farmer.
No questions or comments.
Councilor Hart. Councilor Deputy Mayor Boersma.
I have no comments or questions, sir.
Councilor Restucci.
Only one, Mr. Mayor. For the record, as MPO chair, I will ultimately sign off on this when it gets to the COG. I wholeheartedly support this program and have for many years. And I encourage council to become as involved as possible when it comes to our transportation plan.
Thank you. And I only have one question, Mr. Casey, it might be Mr. Fisher who answers this, but I did notice there was priorities on those. Does that mean that based on funding availability, we would have to go priority number 1, 2, 3 in that sequence? Or is that something that is just based on whatever we feel is the best use of funds at the time?
So the prioritization is something that Public Works works on with HLA to kind of look at the level of need and severity of the issue they're looking to address. Priority doesn't always correspond to sequencing, however, because timing and availability of funding or grant cycles or of construction windows may vary. So it's not something that council is locked into, in that if opportunity arises to advance a project that may be lower priority, but a particular funding mechanism may become available sooner, we're certainly allowed to move things around on the list. But that it's a way to kind of organize the projects in an overall ranking. And I'll ask either Director Fisher or Stephanie if they'd like to elaborate on that, but that's kind of been my understanding of it.
Thank you, Mr. Casey. No, that was a great explanation. Those priority rankings are basically what we see coming up. Obviously, Midvale Road is no longer on there. I don't know if you noticed that, because we'll be doing that here in the next month or so. We'll begin that project started. So that falls off the list. But the next priorities you see are like 6th Street, and some of those projects that are in the pipeline to get funded right now. So that's why you see those generally at the top. But the priorities really are just something that we use in-house.
And the second question, as far as getting them on the list, obviously this is going to be major projects. It's not going to be, a 2-block section where a road may be degrading to the point that might need to be replaced. Is that correct?
That's correct. These are basically our federally recognized roads. So not all of the small residential streets or even some of the commercial streets necessarily meet the criteria for being on this list. And so, yes, this is going to be large street infrastructure type activities or some other federally recognized requirements such as the ADA program.
Thank you very much. That was my last question. Okay. Any additional questions or comments from council members? Okay, hearing none, this public hearing is now closed at 7:41 p.m. Okay, we are going to move on to our next agenda item, which is going to be the Midvale Road Construction Improvement Award. Consider approving a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement with Central Washington Asphalt in the amount of $1,395,000 to rehabilitate Midvale Road. Mr. Casey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Very excited to be bringing this before you this evening. The Midvale Road rehabilitation has been a project on our planning horizon since just before my arrival here in Sunnyside, and it is very exciting to see this not only be able to move forward in this time frame, but to have received fairly favorable bids on this project in what is recognized as a pretty competitive bidding climate. This project will fully rehabilitate this major arterial that serves our port and commercial light industrial district south of the freeway, all the way from Duffy Road to the start of the I-82 interchange. It'll provide new street surfacing as well as some adjacent improvements. As noted, the bids came in under the engineer's construction estimate. And so the plan is to begin work in July, if awarded tonight, and then hopefully have this completed this year. So this will be the first really major project under the new Transportation Benefit District, where the city's match will be entirely funded from those TBD revenues that were approved by voters in 2020 during the pandemic. With that, I know Public Works Director Fisher still on the call, so if there's any technical questions or further questions about the bids or the project, we'll be happy to answer those.
Thank you, Mr. Casey. And we'll start with Councilor Hicks. Questions or comments?
No questions or comments.
Councilor Farmer,
No questions.
Councilor Hart,
Very excited that we're going to be working on getting that road up to date. It's been for a long time deteriorating in places, and so I'm really excited. to be doing
I'm sorry, Jackie, we're not hearing Councilor Hart. Apologies for the interruption.
All right, Dave.
I'm sorry, yes.
You could just speak into your.
Okay,
laptop.
I'm excited that we are going to be working on Midvale Road after quite a long time of all that traffic on our farm to market road. So this is very exciting and can't wait to see construction actually going on out there. I'm really glad about it. Thank you.
okay. Deputy Mayor Burisma.
Yes, sir. I'd like to echo what Ms. Hart has just said. And I also have a question. When do we anticipate having this project finished?
Director Fisher, can you speak to the construction schedule? I know certain details needed to be finalized once we had an award date, but can you provide more of a target date for the completion?
Yeah, we're looking at completion middle of October. It's
Okay,
about an
so-
80-day workday schedule. It's very, very, it's complex, and there's going to be some logistical challenges out there with getting our freight up and down that corridor while work is happening. But we do have a plan to make sure everybody still has access and can come and go as they need for commerce.
Yeah, I guess that would kind of reflect, that's my only concern about this project. I'm very thrilled to have this happen. The road desperately needs a lot of work. But I also see us working through our fall harvest season, and there's a lot of trucks that go up and down that road at that time of year. So that's just a comment. That's not a negative statement on it at all.
Yes.
Agreed.
Appreciate it.
The traffic and communication plan with all of the affected businesses, not just directly adjacent, but we know there's a lot of traffic further south, a lot of farm and business enterprises further south on Midvale beyond the city limits that will be affected by this project. And so the communication strategy is going to be pretty extensive.
Councilor Restucci,
No comments or questions, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Henry.
No comments for me either, sir.
Okay, and I'm same as council members. I'm excited to see this happen. I know it's been a long time waiting, and thankfully our citizens are able to see the value in the transportation benefit district, and we will have some matching funds that we can utilize and put to good use. So I'm looking forward to this getting started and completed for sure. Okay, let's see what else we have. Okay, what is the desire of council on this item?
Mr. Mayor, I would move to authorize or approve a resolution authorizing city manager to execute an agreement with Central Washington Asphalt in the amount of $1,395,000 to rehabilitate Midvale Road.
I'll second.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Councilor Restucci, second by Councilor Hart to approve resolution authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement with Central Washington Asphalt in the amount of $1,395,000 to rehabilitate Midvale Road. Is there any debate on this item? Hear no debate. Can we please get roll call, please?
Mayor Guerrero,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Burisma,
Yes.
Councilor Restucci,
Yes.
Councilor Henry,
Yes.
Councilor Hicks,
Yes.
Councilor Farmer,
Yes.
Councilor Hart.
Yes.
Mayor, there's 7 yes votes.
Motion passes. Thank you, Council. Up next, we have our Federal Aviation Administration, FAA grant acceptance. Consider approving a resolution authorizing the city manager or their designee to expend these funds in the amount of $9,000 for operations and maintenance at the Sensa Municipal Airport. Mr. Casey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Recently, the Public Works Director and our airport manager, Shane Fisher, was notified that there was another element of one of the federal coronavirus response programs, this one, the CRRSA, that included funding for municipal airports. The grant under this one is a modest amount, $9,000. It can be used specifically for costs related to operations, personnel, and as shown there on in the report, cleaning, sanitizing, janitorial. A lot of it is about helping airports defray some of the costs associated with disinfection and sanitizing due to COVID-19, but some other limited uses as well, including debt service payments. So we're seeking authorization, basically accept the grant from the FAA and expend the funds as directed.
Thank you, Mr. Casey. And we'll start with Councilor Farmer. Questions or comments?
No questions.
Councilor Hart?
I think we should move ahead with this and take care of it.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Brosma?
No comments or questions.
Councilor Restucci?
Just a thank you to Mr. Fisher and his team for keeping an eye out and finding this new additional money.
Councilor Henry?
No questions, sir.
Councilor Hicks?
No questions.
And I don't have any questions or comments either. So what is the desire of council on this item?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Was that Councilor Hicks?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, motion by Councilor Hicks, seconded by Councilor Hart to approve resolution authorizing the city manager or their designee to expend these funds in the amount of $9,000 for operations and maintenance at the Sensa Municipal Airport. Is there any debate on this item? Here, no debate. Can we get a roll call, please?
Mayor Guerrero,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Brosma,
Yes.
Councilor Restucci,
Yes.
Councilor Henry,
Yes.
Councilor Hicks,
Yes.
Councilor Farmer,
Yes.
Councilor Hart.
Yes.
Mayor, there's 7 yes votes.
Motion passes. Thank you, council. Up next, we have item E, which is going to be petty cash / change amounts. Consider approving a resolution amending resolution 2020-06 to reduce petty cash at the police department and eliminate petty cash at City Hall. Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. This was brought forward by our finance team. As council is aware, the community and residents are moving increasingly towards electronic and online forms of payment. This has been beneficial to the city and to them for convenience and accessibility. But it's also meant that we've found that we're using less and less cash in our petty cash, having less and less need for petty cash. As a result, they've been evaluating the utilization and the last resolution that council adopted for setting petty cash amounts, and feel that we can move forward with reducing those amounts by a total of I forget the exact, I forget the total. I think we're reducing it by $600, $300 each at the police department and at City Hall. And so we'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Casey. And we'll go down our list. Any questions or comments on this item? We'll start with Councilor Farmer.
Yes. I'm still the guy who likes to pay with money. I don't like credit cards. I don't like debit cards. I think there's many citizens in our community who will be affected negatively by eliminating cash transactions. I understand the pluses for it. I don't think it's something we need to do. Thank you.
If I may have been unclear, I'm not saying, we're not eliminating cash transactions, and I see Director Alba, we're eliminating the petty cash that are used by staff, but I'll ask Director Alba to elaborate.
That is correct. We are eliminating the petty cash fund at City Hall in the amount of $5 and reducing the petty cash fund at the police department by $100. This would be money that we would take to go there to buy something. And we found that we are not needing it. So it's just basically sitting in the vault as money on hand. And so it is actually just reducing the amount of cash on hand, not cash transactions.
Okay, Councilor Hart, questions or comments?
Just to be clear, sorry. Somebody's open. I got a echo here, sorry. But in any case, what I was thinking is that the petty cash is just for like incidentals, like running to the store to get more sanitizer, when you can use a debit card instead. Is that
Correct.
what I'm understanding?
That's correct. This is about the petty cash used by staff. As you know, the point I'd been making earlier was, like many of our customers are using electronic forms of payment, we are finding that we're doing the same, and so we don't have the need for the same level of petty cash in order to be able to do those small incidental purchases for city staff.
So it's basically you're just reducing the petty cash at the police department, but eliminating it at City Hall.
Right.
That's the thing before us, item before us. Okay, thank you.
Deputy Mayor Burisma?
So like Mr. Farmer, I thought that eliminating petty cash at City Hall was going to eliminate people's ability to pay cash for their water bill, sewer bill, and that sort of thing. You've answered that question, and so I guess I no longer have questions or comments. Thanks.
Councilor Restucci?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I see this as a housekeeping measure. It makes sense to me, so I would move to approve.
Councilor Henry?
No questions or comments.
Councilor Hicks?
Yeah, my question's already been answered, so no question.
And no questions from me. So what is the desire of council on this item?
I'd move to approve. This is Councilor Henry.
Councilor
I'll
Restucci?
second, Councilor Hicks.
Can we get Councilor Restucci to be the motion? He's
Councilor Restucci, did you do a motion earlier?
Actually, Mr. Mayor, I was out of order, so take the motions and the second that you have.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we have a motion by Councilor Henry, second by Councilor Hicks, to approve resolution amending resolution 2020-06 to reduce petty cash at the police department and eliminate petty cash at City Hall. Is there any debate on this item? Here, no debate, we will get a roll call.
Mayor Guerrero,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Burisma,
Yes.
Councilor Restucci,
Yes.
Councilor Henry,
Yes.
Councilor Hicks,
Yes.
Councilor Farmer,
Yes.
Councilor Hart.
Yes,
Mayor, there's 7 yes votes.
Thank you, council. Motion passes. Up next, we have items from council members, mayor's appointments for boards and commissions. I do not have any at this time. So we'll move on to our next agenda item, which is going to be council request status report. Mr. City Manager.
I have, so we have before you on the agenda, no current updates on several of these items, actually. We do have in the budget amendment process for consideration whether council would like to look at using some of our current funds for paying for the disabled accessible parking at the senior center. It's not reflected here, but we had applied for but did not receive the AARP grant earlier this year. The tree replacement plan is still moving forward. We've largely prepared all of the tree wells. Director Fisher, is there any other update that you can provide with regard to the next steps on this?
No, you summarized it pretty well. We have removed all the old stumps, and we'll start looking at the type of trees you guys want to put in. So we'll, in the next couple of meetings, bring that back to council for to let you guys weigh in on that.
Okay. Jackie, if you can scroll on down. So for the guardrails on Riverside, council previously approved moving forward with a project to compile a safety plan. This is a necessary prerequisite in order to apply for and be eligible for funding from the state for installation of guardrails. The guardrails are not inexpensive. They're several $100,000 each. And so being able to qualify for the state funding to do that is important. That safety plan is underway. And Director Fisher, do we have an update as to when they are targeting completion?
What they're going to do first is we'll put together a committee of public safety, be public works, fire, police, probably a council member, and we'll put together a little committee, and we'll basically going to discuss and write down what each person feels is important safety, you know, for the city of Sunnyside, be it, you know, fire or police or pedestrian, multimodal, and basically we'll create a list of basically what we're trying to accomplish with our safety plan. So that's the next step, and that's going to happen in July.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Jackie, if you can scroll on down. Okay, the last two items. I do not know of any new information from the police chief on the police reserve. So when he's available at the next meeting, I'll ask him to be able to provide on that, an update on that. And then we did provide an update back in March on all of the actions the city had taken in response to some of the recommendations out of the Burke's presentation for 2018. There were, I think, well over 20 different action steps that were completed as a result of that. So we don't have anything further to report on that.
All right, Council, if you have anything else you'd like to add to the status request, please let us know. Or is there anyone wants to add something at this time?
I have a couple of comments I'd like to make.
To add to the request status report? Otherwise,
No, I'm sorry.
up next, we'll have the section for comments
Okay.
or reports.
I'll
from
wait.
council. Thank you. Okay, see no additional items going on to the request status report. We'll move on to our next agenda item, which is going to be other reports, announcements under questions by council. And we'll start with Councilor Hart.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I attended the ribbon cutting at the swimming pool this morning, along with yourself and Councilor Henry. And I just wanted to say that following the tour of the swimming pool, I want to commend staff on all of the hard work they took to make that really so much more the utilization of it so much more practical, and also all of the different things they had to do to spruce it up. It really looks very, very nice. We were always proud of our swimming pool, but I think we can be doubly proud of how it looks to those who come into town to see it. I want to commend Chase Reef for the murals that he provided. It's an unusual concept of like being inside of an aquarium from various perspectives. It was very nice. So I just wanted to give that shout out to the staff for all their hard work. Mr. Reef is also on our Arts Commission, if nobody knew that. But thank you.
Okay, Deputy Mayor Bursma.
Yeah, I just wanted to echo what Ms. Hart has just said. I wasn't able to be there this morning. I was gone for the weekend. But when I informed my daughters, all of whom were members of the swim team had spent a great deal of their childhood and youth at the pool. They were absolutely ecstatic. They were excited to hear about the improvements at the pool. So well done to staff. I think, again, as Ms. Hart said, we have something to be proud of with our pool. So thank you for all your hard work on that over the last year.
Councilor Restucci?
Nothing to add, Mr. Mayor. I agree. I'm excited about the pool opening.
Councilor Henry?
It was just good to see all you guys down there today, and it was good to see all the hard work that's been put into it paid off up to this day. So thank you again, everyone.
Councilor Hicks?
Nothing to add.
Councilor Farmer?
Yeah, I would also like to echo the swimming pool. I mean, it's a jewel in our community. It's because of circumstances beyond our control. It hasn't been utilized. I'm glad to see us opening it back up, and the improvements I think will further enhance it and just make swimming a little bit better for the city, the adults and youth in the city. The other two things that I have would be, as I drove in the community center tonight, it looks like there's graffiti on the I guess the announcer stand for the ball fields right out here in the back. Looks like there's quite a bit of it there. That I think we need to maybe look at that and take care of that. And then the other thing is we've talked about.
Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry, he's breaking up on his microphone, Jackie.
Is this any better?
Can you test again, please?
Is this any better?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. We've had complaints about the noise variance. Yes, some people are very sensitive ears inside. I think that anytime that I've been infringes upon neighbors or communities, we need to look at it. I don't have the answer for it. I know it's going to take some training. I know it's going to take some equipment, but this is something we need to look at. I don't have the problem in my neighborhood, but I know other people do, and they should be able to enjoy their own patios without interference of objectionable waste to them. And I think it's something we need to look at, we need to think about, and we need to act on.
Okay, and I don't have any reports or announcements for tonight's meeting, so we'll move on to our next agenda item, which is going to be upcoming council meetings.
All right. On your screens, coming up June 28th, the first item that we have planned is an update to the emergency declaration extension. We are in periodic communication seeking updates from the governor's office on the plans for what executive orders or proclamations are going to be continued past June 30, which ones will not. Right now, the best information we have is that although almost all of the occupancy and social distancing restrictions will be eased after June 30. The masking requirements and the proclamation, for example, related to utility billing and payment plans and so forth, those will continue into July. And so there's certain elements of our current proclamation that will be able to drop as of June 28th. It'll be a much shorter extension. We'll be able to talk about, reopening City Hall and resuming in-person council meetings at the council chambers. But even there, we're seeing information coming out that AWC, the Association of Washington Cities today, just indicated that depending on the direction that the state takes with those orders, If we have in-person meetings in the council chambers starting in July, we may have to provide different seating for persons who are vaccinated versus for persons who are not. Because persons who are not vaccinated will have to maintain physical distancing and masking. We're kind of waiting to see what actually comes down from the state on that, so stay tuned. Also coming up on June, some follow-up items on information that have been presented previously. The water sewer unit of measurement conversion that Finance Director Alba presented at your workshop. We'll be bringing that forward for action. The transportation improvement plan that you heard a public hearing on tonight, we'll be bringing that forward for action. We'll be prepared to provide a contract award for the airport layout master plan contract. And coming out of the fire department, we'll have our annual kind of update to the GEMT contract amendment. There's some updates in how they're doing that process. So Chief Anderson will be bringing that forward. We also have a very full workshop planned for Tuesday, July 6th. We plan to help facilitate council through a prioritization discussion related to both federal ARP, American Rescue Plan Act distribution allocations, as well as potential second quarter budget amendment decisions. As well as we're going to have a fairly in-depth briefing on the work that's been underway on several elements of the comprehensive plan update. So a couple of pretty full meetings coming up. And that's what we have in your near future.
Thank you, Mr. Casey. Next, we have items from city manager and department heads.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll acknowledge, and I wasn't sure if you also wanted to, during the status report or mayor's updates inquiry about potential special meeting, but as council's aware, and sorry, let me jump back around over here. Last Friday, I informed council that I'll be wrapping up my service to Sunnyside on August 15th. As I shared with you in my letter, I'm very proud to have helped the city regain financial stability and improve professional administration. But like many others, the pandemic has prompted a lot of reflection for me and for my family. And we've decided it's time to kind of take a step back and consider where our future best lies. And we hope to have settled on our next steps by early autumn. And as noted a moment ago, there are still many important tasks to accomplish here this summer, and I look forward to continuing to work with council, staff, and our partners to keep us moving forward. And I, also stand ready to assist council as needed as you think about how you want to approach potential, options for recruitment or selection, and input into that. In terms of COVID, today, Yakima County reached 31,493 cases and 427 COVID-related deaths. 7 residents are currently hospitalized. To put this kind of in context, in Sunnyside, so far, 1 in 5 residents have had COVID-19 since the start of the pandemic. We're currently in phase 3 of the state's reopening network framework. As of June 12th, 48.7% of Yakima County residents over the age of 16 have been fully vaccinated. Now, that only represents about 1/3 of the total population when you factor in youth under 16. And that compares to statewide, about 57.4% of residents over age 16 have been fully vaccinated, or about half the total state population. The state still intends to lift most COVID occupancy and social distancing restrictions on June 30th or earlier if we can reach 70% overall vaccination rates. We've been told that the state does plan to continue enforcing masking orders after June 30, consistent with CDC guidelines. Labor and Industries has said that fully vaccinated employees do not have to wear a mask or socially distance at work. However, as the employer, we must first confirm that each worker who chooses not to wear a mask is fully vaccinated, either by having them sign a document attesting to their status or actually providing proof of vaccination. At this point, roughly 1/3 of the city's workforce has attested to being fully vaccinated, and the rest are continuing to wear face masks for as long as the current orders are in place. And with that, I'll turn it over to the department heads for their reports. I think we only have 3 on tonight, so we'll start with Public Works Director Fisher.
Thank you, Mr. Casey. Yeah, I've got a couple items here. Here in the next week or two, people will start seeing some activity out on the pathway. Parks and facility staff will be working with Mr. Greg Schlieve to start clearing out between the trees, the new trees we planted last year on YVH, to start setting in some farm implements that Mr. Schlieve has been collecting over at the museum. So that here next week or two, you'll see staff out with equipment, ripping grass out in preparation for putting down some gravel, and then we'll start moving implements in. Next item I have is the restrooms at South Hill and Sunnyview Parks will be opened up this week. They are playing Cal Ripken at both facilities, and we've been getting a lot of emails on the restroom facilities, and so we're going to go ahead and open the restrooms up. They'll be used at your own risk, and we got signage up for everybody, and make sure those are open for the kids and parents to use. The other restrooms we will not open up until July 1. Last item I have is we'll be starting our crack filling and chip sealing. That mostly takes up June and all of July. And just wanted to let council know that our staff that normally will be spraying weeds is now going to be high center getting chip sealing and crack filling done. So you may see some weeds start to kind of pop up here and there. Just be patient. When we're done with the crack filling and chip sealing activities, we will get back to our weed spraying. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Finance Director Alba.
Well, I wanted to say thank you, and I appreciate everyone that attended the ribbon cutting this morning. Not only was it a proud moment for me, it was a proud moment, I think, for Sunnyside to be able to show off our, like I've heard say, a jewel. The other thing that I wanted to let you know, we reached out to 4 more lifeguards today, and so our numbers are up to 20, which is a much better result than we've had in the past. We still are seeing a shortage. We are continuing to hire. So if someone you know is interested, we would love to have them go ahead and fill out their application so we can do an interview. In the finance department, if you walk by Delilah's office, you'll see 20 or 30 or more boxes. She has been doing a fabulous job of records destruction and is finding some really cool and things that we probably shouldn't have kept since 1992, but that is a project that she's going to be doing. So we'll have a lot of records that need to be archived or need to be destroyed. In the recreation department, we are getting our recreation coordinator interview scheduled and getting that process going. We hope to try to get someone on board here in the next month. And that's all I have.
Thank you. City Clerk Renteria.
I have nothing right now. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. That's all we have.
Thank you, Mr. Casey. And since you mentioned that your last day with us will be August 15th, I'd like to work with Mr. Deputy Mayor Boersma and yourself to try to get the ball rolling as far as finding a suitable replacement, unless there's an objection from council. Well, yeah, I'm doing unless it's an objection, so we could get the ball rolling, because otherwise we're going to be at the last minute with a long-term interim city manager.
Mr. Mayor, I'll be glad to offer my services to you and the deputy mayor if you need help in this process. I've been through it many times.
I also am interested in being a part of that as needed. And I think that what you're saying, Mayor, about getting a jump start on it is really important.
And we're not saying to make a decision or anything. We're just gonna get the ball rolling. That way we can have a process in place. It does take quite a while to get candidates vetted and obviously presented to council and make a decision at that time. But I think all of us will agree that we want to get a qualified individual in Mr. Casey's place. And I think the earlier we start the process, the better chances we have of finding a suitable candidate that we can all agree or mostly agree on and keep the city moving forward.
Mayor, may I also say that we've got, in the last several years since Mr. Casey has been here, we have managed to get ourselves on a firm foundation. And I want to commend his work in that regard. I think that he was the right man for the time. And I'm kind of mad at him for leaving, but I understand you got to make the changes that you got to make. But I do want to commend him for his leadership at City Hall in the past several years. It's been very, very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It sounds
Much
like we have support to get the ball rolling in this area. So we'll go ahead and plan with
Mr.
Mr.
Mayor?
Casey. Yes, sir.
Hey, I would like this to be a total council project. I think this needs to be brought before the council, and I think we need to discuss it in a council meeting. I don't have any objection for 2 or 3 people getting together, but this is a council decision and a council process. And turn it over to a couple of council members. I'm not there.
And this is not the case. What we're gonna do is just get started. Council will still be engaged 100% like it has been in the past. We've been obviously, at least a few of us have been through a couple of different vetting processes for city managers. And as you might recall, it's not an overnight plan or process. This is just to get the ball rolling to present to council what options we have for either a recruitment agency or timeline or something of that nature. So I'm not saying Deputy Mayor Borges and myself are going to be selecting a new city manager, Mr. Farmer. This is just to get the ball rolling to make sure that we don't stall and wait until the last minute, and then we're in trouble by not being able to select the appropriate city manager and basically cutting our losses and getting, best of the worst in a sense.
I think the ball needs to be started next week or at our next
Absolutely.
council meeting as an agenda item to where we can all speak to what we envision this process to be and come to some kind of a conclusion on how we want to do it.
Okay, so are you okay with a special meeting next week then?
That's fine.
All right, Mr. Casey, we're working on a special meeting for next week. That way we can try to get as many council members as possible to join and get this process in front of the council and get the ball rolling.
Mr. Mayor, it could be the next regular meeting too. I want a meeting where all council members can be there. If we're going to miss 2 or 3 or 1 or 2 because of scheduling, I want to wait till we have a regular council meeting so we can all be together and all do it together.
All right, sounds like a plan. Then we'll do it for the 28th, Mr. Casey. We'll add that to our agenda.
Okay.
And I still like to meet with you and Deputy Mayor Borsman to kind of see what the process is going to be, and then we'll bring it as an item for before council.
Okay.
And we'll just
Understood.
schedule that with you a little bit later.
All right.
All right. So hearing no additional items to come before council, and hearing no objection, this meeting is now adjourned at 8:21 p.m. Thank you, everyone.
Good night,
Thank you.
everyone.
Have a good evening.
Good night.
Yeah.
Not all.